Japan, autumn 1643. Miyamoto Musashi is 60 years old. His body carries the memory of more than 60 duels. Every scar, a story, every wound, a lesson. 0 defeats across 4 decades. But now, something deeper than steel calls to him. He climbs the steep path to Rigondo Cave in the mountains of Kumamoto. No disciples follow. No family awaits his final breath. He carries only ink, paper, and the weight of a lifetime. Most men in their final days speak of regrets. Musashi speaks of reconstruction. In this absolute solitude, he writes not about how to defeat opponents, but how to reprogram the human mind when everything crumbles and only silence remains. His words would sleep in that cave for centuries, then awaken in our chaotic modern world where we check our phones. 150 times daily, where loneliness is the plague we fear most, where we've forgotten how to stand alone without breaking. But Musashi knew. 400 years before our crisis, he already understood the disease. We've lost the ability to walk alone. Chapter 1. The Making of USAs. Isachi Musashi wasn't born invincible. At age 13, he killed his first opponent, Arima Kihei, a trained adult samurai. But it wasn't skill. It was luck, brutality, and desperate instinct. He didn't execute a perfect technique from the prestigious sword schools. He grabbed a wooden staff and beat Arima to death in savage and elegant strikes. Victory? Yes. Mastery? Not even close. For the next 16 years, Musashi won duel after duel. Age 16, defeated Totoshima Akiyama and his disciples. Age 21, destroyed Yoshioka Sayuro, then his brother Den Shushiro, then massacred dozens from the Yoshioka school at Ishioka Temple. But here's what history hides. Musashi was winning by smaller margins each time. He was surviving through aggression, not dominating through mastery. And he knew it. At 29, everything changed. He faced Sasaki, Kojiro, considered Japan's finest swordsman. Kojiro was technical perfection. Precise, calculated, elegant. Every movement rehearsed to mathematical accuracy. Musashi arrived late deliberately. Psychological warfare. He carved a wooden sword from an oar on the boat ride over. When Kojiro attacked with his legendary swallow's tail technique, Musashi didn't counter with textbook form. He improvised, adapted, embraced chaos. Kojiro fell. Not because his technique failed, it was flawless. He fell because perfection makes you rigid, and rigidity makes you vulnerable. That night, Musashi understood he needed to rebuild himself from the mind up. And that's when he discovered 4 principles that would change everything. Chapter 2. The Parallel Story. San Francisco. March 2020. This is David, age 33, senior UX designer at a tech startup that just raised $12 million. 3 years building something that finally seemed to matter. Then the pandemic hit. In one 8-minute Zoom call, David joined the 40% of staff let go. The worst part wasn't losing the job. It was realizing his entire identity was welded to that title. Without senior designer at Tech Corp, who was David, his wife Sarah tried. But David wasn't just unemployed, he was paralyzed. He sent 80+ applications to perfect fit roles, rejected every time. He had the portfolio, the skills, the network. But when real pressure arrived, his mind shattered. By September, Sarah left. Not because David lost his job, because he lost the ability to move forward. She couldn't watch someone with so much potential drown in self-paralysis. David tried everything. Motivational videos, morning routines, cold showers at 5 a.m. It worked for 3 days. On day 4, he'd wake at noon, do nothing, and feel worse than before. Motivation is cheap fuel. It burns fast and leaves you emptier. Then, in a corner bookstore avoiding his empty apartment, David found an abandoned book, The Lone Warrior's Way, about Musashi's final teachings. He opened to a page and read words that stopped his breath. Accept everything just as it is. Do not seek pleasure for pleasure's sake. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. David turned the page, and Chapter 1 began. Chapter 3. Kaizen, the Invisible Transformation. Change for better, but not the change you imagine. After his duel with Kojiro, Musashi did something radical. He stopped trying to learn 50 new techniques simultaneously. He chose one principle, one movement, and refined it for Months, timing, distance, posture, breathing. He didn't improve 50% in 1 week. He improved 1% per day for 100 days. By the end, the gap between him and any opponent was impossible to close. This is Kaizen before modern business stole the word. It's not continuous improvement in factories and perceptible transformation of the self. Science confirms this. Dr. Robert Moore at UCLA discovered the brain's amygdala detects threats. Big changes equals threat detected equals psychological resistance activated. But microscopic 1% changes, the amygdala sleeps. New behaviors install without internal war. David read this and thought, ridiculous. I need big results. Fast. I need a job. Income. Proof I'm not broken. But he was desperate enough to try something absurdly small. Week 1. David committed to opening LinkedIn for 2 minutes daily. Not applying, not networking, just opening it. No judgment. No pressure. It felt pathetic, but he did it. Week 2. Same 2 minutes. But now he read one job posting. Any posting. He didn't need to apply or care if it was relevant. Just read. Week 3. He updated his profile 1 line at a time, changed a comma, added a skill word, corrected spacing. Day 24, David sent his first application. Not because someone pushed him, not because motivation struck, but because the resistance had dissolved. His brain no longer saw it as threat. It was simply the natural continuation of a microscopic habit running for 24 days. David applied Kaizen to everything. Messy apartment. It's tidy one surface daily. In 2 weeks, spotless, out of shape. 10 push-ups daily. In 40 days, 300 effortlessly. Chaotic finances. Review 1 account daily. In a month, complete clarity. The secret isn't the size of action, it's unwavering daily consistency. Musashi understood this. Even at 60, weeks before death, he still practiced foundational movements daily. Not to learn something new, to refine what he knew by 1% more. Because mastery isn't a destination, it's 10,000 imperceptible steps in one direction. Chapter 4. Ikigai. The reason you wake. Ikigai. Reason for being. After defeating Kujido, Musashi did something strange. He disappeared. For nearly a decade, aged 30 to 40, he stopped accepting duels. Not from fear, from emptiness. He had won 60 duels, killed dozens, built a terrifying reputation, and he felt nothing. He wrote in his private journal, "When I reached 30, I looked back. My victories were not due to mastering strategy. They were luck, aggression, and talent, nothing more. I had become a skilled animal, not a master. Victory without purpose is just noise." During that lost decade, Musashi transformed, studied calligraphy, painting, Zen philosophy, poetry not as hobbies, but because he realized the way of the sword was inseparable from the way of life. He found his intersection, what he loved, understanding strategy, universal principles behind all conflict. What he was exceptional at, reading opponents, adapting instantly, teaching discipline what the world needed, guidance for warriors beyond brute technique what paid. Feudal lords hired him as strategist and mentor. Not just fighter, this became his guiding principle at 40. And only at 50, he admits in the Book of 5 Rings, did he finally, truly understand the way. David, 6 months into Kaizen, had 4 job interviews scheduled. Good companies, great salaries, but he felt nothing. No anxiety, no excitement, just autopilot. He read how Musashi spent 16 years winning without knowing why until age 30, revealed the horror. Victory without purpose is a beautiful prison. David realized he was repeating the pattern. Chose tech design because it paid well, and everyone in San Francisco did it. But he never loved it. He tolerated it. He spent 1 week alone answering for brutal questions. 1. What do I genuinely love? Teaching. Since childhood, explaining complex things, simply math to friends, design to juniors, strategy to startups. 2. What am I objectively good at? Taking chaos and creating clarity, turning complexity into simple systems anyone can follow. 3. What does the world need right now? People who want to build businesses but don't know where to start. They have the idea, not the roadmap. 4. What will people pay for? Mentoring, courses, frameworks for first-time founders building products from zero. For the first time in 10 months, David felt something real, not temporary motivation, permanent direction, canceled all 4 interviews, polite emails declining, and he started something radically different. He wrote Twitter threads teaching product design concepts. Short, simple, 280 characters. 1 per day. Kaizen applied to Ikigai. He didn't expect followers, didn't chase validation. He did it because it was the right path.
I have my name. 6 weeks.
1,400 followers?
3
months. First consulting offered $2,500 for 5 sessions. It didn't match his old $11,000 monthly salary, but David woke with energy for the first time since March 2020. The science is undeniable. Researchers studied Okinawa, Japan's highest concentration of centenarians on Earth. Most people over 100 had one thing in common: a clear answer to, why do you wake up? It wasn't genetics, it wasn't diet, it was Ikigai. People without purpose had 50 to 60% higher risk of cardiovascular death. Musashi spent decades learning this. You can save those decades by answering 4 questions today. Chapter 5. Wabi-Sabi. Strength and imperfection. Wabi-Sabi. Beauty and imperfection. Strengthen the broken. Late in life, Musashi developed Nitten Ichiriya, the 2-sword style. Traditional masters mocked it. Unorthodox, inelegant, improper. Musashi didn't care about aesthetic approval. He cared about effectiveness. His calligraphy works like the famous shrike on Dead Branch used jagged, quick brushstrokes, intentional asymmetry. Empty spaces. They look unfinished. It's exactly why they're masterpieces. Remember, Kojiro had the perfect technique. Musashi had a wooden oar. Kojiro died. Musashi lived. David was growing. 9 months after finding Ikigai, he had 5 paying clients. Content flowing, revenue covering expenses. But something blocked him again. Paralyzing perfectionism. He'd spend 5 hours rewriting a 280-character tweet, postponed launching a digital course because it wasn't good enough yet. He recorded videos and deleted them. Lighting wasn't perfect. Compared himself to creators with massive audiences and thought, I'll never reach that. Why try? Then he read Musashi's teaching. Do not have preferences in anything. The warrior uses what works, not what is beautiful. David realized he was becoming Kojiro obsessed with technical perfection. Paralyzed by aesthetic approval, vulnerable because everything needed to be flawless before acting. He was hiding his flaws. The firing, the failed relationship. Starting over at 33 while peers got promoted, he thought he needed to pretend success for people to respect him. Wabi-Sabi said the opposite. Imperfection is strength, not weakness. David did something terrifying. He wrote a thread revealing everything. The humiliating Zoom firing the breakup after 6 years, 4 months paralyzed. Doing nothing, crying alone, an empty apartment bank account, draining applications rejected repeatedly. He posted it at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. No editing 50 times, no asking opinions. Like Musashi, with his crude or imperfect but real, he went to sleep certain he'd committed professional suicide. He woke to 73,000 views, 1,200 comments. It's almost all saying the same thing. Me too. I'm living this right now. Thank you for being honest. You just described my life. David discovered something brutal. People don't connect with manufactured perfection. They connect with honest imperfection, because everyone has cracks. When you hide yours, they feel alone in theirs. You show them, they breathe relief. It's not just me. David stopped postponing. He launched his course Imperfect. 4 lessons recorded on phone, slides on free Canva, audio with background noise, like Musashi's wooden paddle. Sold to 17 people at $97 each. $1,649. He used their feedback to improve version 2, sold to 41 people. Used that feedback for version 3. Kaizen applied to Wabi-Sabi. Wabi-Sabi isn't accepting mediocrity. It's accepting that effectiveness beats aesthetic perfection. Musashi could have waited years to master 2 swords perfectly. Instead, he used them imperfectly and refined through real combat. Starting imperfect and improving 1% daily is infinitely superior to waiting for perfection and never starting. Mushan, the liberated mind. Mushan, no mind. The mind that needs nothing external. Musashi didn't choose solitude initially. Solitude was forced upon him. Born 1584, father abandoned him to serve a warlord. Mother died young. At 13, after killing Arima, the village expelled him too young for any clan, too old to be a child. This could have destroyed him. Instead, it taught him what warriors with teams never learn. You are only truly strong when you need no one to survive. After Kojiro, aged 30 to 40, Musashi disappeared. Traveled alone, studied alone, trained alone, developed his entire style without school, students, or feedback. At 62, knowing death approached, he isolated completely. Climbed a Rigondo cave. Wrote Dakode, The Path of Walking Alone. 21 principles for those who depend on no one. Do not stray from the way. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Do not depend on partial feeling. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. These weren't theories. They were lessons from decades walking alone. Musashi knew, people are impermanent, masters die, clans fall, friends betray. Not from malice, but because life flows. If your strength depends on others' presence, when they leave on, they always do you crumble. Musashi died alone in that cave, 1645. No hand to hold. No witnesses recording last words. But he didn't die lonely. He died free, because he'd built something no one could take. Absolute inner autonomy. David was rebuilt. He had Kaizen moving him forward. Ikigai giving direction. Wabi-Sabi permitting imperfection. 20 months after a collapse, earning $9,500 monthly teaching product design. Not a fortune. Freedom. Yet a crack remained. Residual emotional dependence. He still checked Sarah's Instagram daily. Still waited for old colleagues to invite him to events. Still needed likes to validate his work. Still measured himself against external benchmarks. He remembered Musashi's teaching and realized he'd chosen his path but kept looking sideways for approval. David did something radical. Deactivated Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Stopped checking who grew faster, who raised funding, who got promoted. Stopped comparing. For the first time, he felt inner silence, not emptiness, peace. No external noise saying he was behind, should be elsewhere. Others were doing better, just him in the path. He wrote, "They are on their path. I am on mine. If I need to look sideways to know I'm doing well, I never will." Another principle destroyed David: do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Musashi wasn't saying be miserable. He was saying don't depend on pleasure to continue, because pleasure is temporary fuel. David realized he depended on dopamine likes, comments, new clients to feel good. On days without dopamine, he froze. Musashi spent decades without an audience. He knew, build commitment, not pleasure-seeking. David worked regardless of emotion, sad, worked, happy, worked, unmotivated, worked, motivated, worked. His emotional states ceased dictating his actions. The path isn't about rejecting help or never collaborating. It's about building such solid inner strength that you can stand alone. And when you can stand alone, you can choose to walk with others out of love, not necessity. 27 months after collapse, Sarah texted, not to reconcile, but saying she'd followed from afar and was genuinely proud. David read it 3 times, felt nothing. No anger, no longing, no desire to resume, just peaceful neutrality. He no longer needed that validation to feel whole. 30 months post-collapse, $17,000 monthly, teaching hundreds. But not because he became a different person, because he systematically reprogrammed how he viewed 4 pillars, and you can do exactly the same. Conclusion: these 4 principles amplify each other. Kaizen, without Ikigai, equals movement without direction. Circle. Ikigai without Wabi-Sabi equals paralyzing perfectionism. You never start. Wabi-Sabi without Kaizen equals acceptance that becomes complacency. You stop improving. Walking alone without the others equals unproductive isolation. When you move 1% daily toward your Ikigai, accepting imperfection, without depending on validation, you become unstoppable, not invincible. Musashi died like any human, unstoppable, because nothing external can halt you when everything you need is within. So here's your map. First, Kaizen. Choose one stuck area. Make the smallest possible move today. Not impressive, the smallest. Do it for 30 days without increasing it until it's unconscious. Second, Ikigai. Answer for questions with brutal honesty. What do I genuinely love? What am I objectively good at? What does the world need? What will people pay for? The intersection is your true north. Third, Wabi-Sabi. Stop waiting to be ready. Start imperfect. Launch Ugly Version 1. Use reality's feedback to improve 1% daily. Perfection is prison. Imperfect improvement is freedom. Fourth, Mushane. Cut one emotional dependency today. Stop checking your ex's social media. Stop comparing yourself to others. Build inner strength so solid you can stand completely alone. Not in one day, not in 1 week. 1% daily for 365 days puts you in a different universe. Musashi left that scroll in 1645. It reached David in 2020. It's reaching you now. Will you wait for life to force transformation, as it forced Musashi and David? Or will you start today with one microscopic movement and let time and consistency do the rest? Musashi died alone, but he died free. Free from needing validation. Free from freezing under pressure. Free from breaking when everything crumbled. That freedom has remained intact for 400 years. Kaizen, Ikigai, Wabi-Sabi, Mushane. The path is yours. It always was. It always will be. Thanks for watching.